Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. And today's the day that we're going to pitch the Specna Arms SA-H02, or otherwise known as a 416, against the Specna Arms SA-E07, which is from their Edge range. Now, if you watch my other videos, that I hope you have, then the Specna Arms 416 or H02 is the upgraded one, and the Rock River Arms licensed E07 is the one fresh out the box that we're going to compare it to. So if you watch my other videos, you'll know that this started off as an upgrade video for the 416, and we needed something to compare it against, and the best thing I could think of was to compare it against something straight out the box like the Edge from the same manufacturer, but not it's potentially pre-upgraded, if you like, to see if the value for money was really there in an upgraded gun, or whether you should just go out and buy yourself an Edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at these. The Edge is straight out of the box. The only thing I've done to it since I've taken it out of the box is actually colouring the trays, because I thought it was a shame to have these nice Rock River Arms trays and not actually be able to see them. So I've coloured them in so you can actually see them. And I've fitted a red dot, and I've solved the wobbling stock that I spoke about in the other video, which is actually completely solid now. The 416 is as it was in the video, with the exception of a new hop-up rubber in there and a new knob, which is now, so it's now got the maple leaf macaron and Omega knob, which is, I've tried and tested in other AEGs of mine, and it performs really well. So that's why I swapped that over. Now, what we're going to do to try and make the test fair, they'll both be shot at the same size target, the same distance and the same conditions, which are horrible, by the way. It's really wet and miserable, but at least it's not windy. And we're going to do it with the same weight BBs and same brand. So we're going to, for this, we're going to be using the .25 Jeff's Precision BBs. Now, the only issue with that really is the fact that the 416 would prefer to run .28s and .3s. It tends to overhot .25s, whereas the actual E07 doesn't like to hop the .28s and .3s and much prefers .25s. So I didn't really want to use different BBs for an accuracy test. I want to use the same ones. So there may be a little bit of a middle ground we've got to find there, but we have to compromise somewhere. And that's fairly typical of an upgraded gun wanting to run heavier BBs. That's fairly normal. So we'll see how it goes though, and see if we can get some accuracy out of it with the lighter BBs. Remember guys, if you like the channel, give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe, and also press on the little bell to get notifications of a new video. Without further ado, we're going to get on with having a look at the guns. So what I want to do with this is more than just an accuracy test. We're going to look at several things, and I've actually written them down here because I would have forgotten them. So we're going to look at trigger response and see what trigger response is like on these. We're going to have a look at accuracy over a set distance. We're going to have a look at the feet per second to see whether the feet per second is playable straight out of the box and if it's reasonable. So we don't want it too low, we don't want it too high, we want it just right. We're going to have a look at the consistency of the FPS to see how much it varies between each shot. We're going to have a look at the rate of fire, which personally doesn't matter so much to me, but it's important to some people. And we're going to have a look at the cost. So the cost of this versus that. And we've already gone into that a little bit with one of my other videos, Dog Returns. So let's start off with feet per second. Okay guys, so first up we're going to do 10 shots with the E07. So you can see from that it's roughly around the high 360s to the low 370s, which is a bit high for UK limits. So I could put the M90 spring in, but to be honest, that's probably going to take it a little bit too low because you want it fine-tuned. But the consistency is pretty reasonable. It's just a shame it's a little bit over. So what I will have to do is strip down the gearbox and perhaps take a couple of actual coils off the spring, and just to lower it down to where I want it. But all in all, it's not horrendous and it's certainly not unfixable, but I do think the M90 would be a little bit too light for it. Okay guys, so this is the Specna Arms 416. And you can see from that it's, although it is just about on the limit of the UK site allowance of 350, and it's got a little bit more variation as well. So I'd say it's slightly less consistent than the actual the SA-E07, but it is skirmishable because it's still below the 350 most of the time anyway. There was a couple that went over, but I think that's more fluke than anything else. It does tend to run on the mid 340s. Okay, so we've done feet per second, so now we're going to try rounds per second. I hope you're enjoying this video because literally everything has gone wrong. Trying to do this video has been a nightmare. Right. So we've got 1064 rounds per minute. 1058, so yeah, pretty accurate, pretty consistent. Okay, so next up is going to be the 416. Way lower. So that's 832, so it is quite a bit lower. So that's probably more down to the battery though. The 416 is running at 7.4 as opposed to the 11.1. So we'll swap around and see what the difference is. Okay, so this is the 416 again, but this time we've got the 11.1 that we were running in the SA-E07. And we've got 1199. And we didn't get one for that. So as you can see, with the same battery in, it does take the rounds per second to the next level with the 416 as well. So essentially that is a faster rate of fire, but not by a lot. Okay, so we've done a few tests already, and now we're going to have a look at the trigger response. So both of them have got MOSFETs, so they should have both great trigger responses on them. The difference being this has got the old trolley style trigger contacts in it, and obviously the gate has got the optical, but let's have a look and see if it actually makes any difference. So first of all, we'll switch on to semi. Now this has got the 11.1 in again. You can see the trigger response is actually very good. So even without a precock, it's absolutely great. So next up, let's try the 416. Okay, we'll switch it to semi. Interesting. So that's normal. Let's put the precock on. I'll try it again. So it takes 2 shots to get the precock right. Okay. Now what I'll say is with the precock on, let's turn it off again. There's very little difference in all honesty. The precock is much more, much sharper to fire, it's much more responsive. Without the precock, not so much, but then again it has got the 7.4 volt LiPo battery in it. If we put the 11.1, it'll increase it a little bit, but that increase you see in the standard form will be taken away once you put it into precock mode, because it absolutely makes no difference that I can see having an 11.1 in over a 7.4 when you're using precock. I just can't see a great difference in it.
there may be a fraction of a second, and maybe you could measure it on the diagnostic software, but for what you get, it's just not worth it. So yeah, trigger response, I actually think it's a draw.
Sorry, turn the volume up. Okay guys, so let's talk about the accuracy test. So you saw the results where I was shooting at the target, and that was 20 meters or 72 feet. So 22 meters, 72 feet roughly. Now, it's probably not clear from the actual filming when I looked at it afterwards as to what's happening. So I've got the targets here so we can have a bit of a look. And this is from the E07, so the first off. And if you look at the back, you can actually see the groups. So what we had was one particular group of BBs that were nicely bunched together, but quite a few flyers that were heading out towards the edges of the paper. If we then look at the upgraded 416, we've got two distinct groups and then four flyers. Now, the two groups are down to my dodgy aim. I was using a red dot at, sort of 72 feet. And at a small target, you're restricted on how much you can adjust that without a scope. So, especially with my eyesight. So, we've got two distinct groups and the flyers on the outside. When you compare the two together, you can actually see that the upgraded hop unit and the more to do with the rubber than the actual CNC hop, it does make a little bit of difference. And bearing in mind that's a brand new rubber, they do take quite a few shots to actually bed in, and they tend to get a little bit better after. So after about 1,000 shots, I'd say that this grouping would probably become one and you'd have less flyers. And with the E07, to be fair, that's also a new hop, but you'll never get the same groupings as you will with an upgraded hop rubber. However, is it good enough for skirmishing? It's more than good enough for skirmishing. I've had guns that have come straight out of the box way worse than that. So 22 meters, that's certainly nothing to be sniffed at. And you'll see the odd review. I've seen a couple on YouTube recently claiming to sort of hit within that much of a space at 22 meters straight out of the box, or no, probably not that far, but 50 feet say. Yeah, okay. Some of them I take with a pinch of salt. I'm not saying the people are wrong or they're being dishonest or anything like that. I just think unless your distance is measured, it can be difficult without seeing proof, because airsoft guns aren't pinpoint accurate. Now, what you would see a difference between these two, I'm sure, is as the range reaches out past 72 feet or 22 meters and perhaps goes out to 30 meters, that's when you'll probably start to see the real difference between the two. Whereas the E07, I could see the way the shots were starting to curve. Beyond a certain distance, they're going to start spreading out beyond the size of a chest. Whereas the 416 was keeping them a lot straighter, and you could see them flying a lot straighter. One thing that is worth mentioning is the 416 was overhopping like crazy, because it much prefers a 2.8 to a 0.3 BB, whereas the E07 in its standard form, it doesn't really like going too far over the 0.25s. I did try a 0.3 in there and it just didn't want to hop it. It was a little bit lackluster. So it's worth considering that although you may not get perfect results up to 20 meters, when you start reaching out, that's when the results really start to tell as to how well the hop-up's performing. Unfortunately, I haven't got that kind of distance. I wish I did have an indoor range where it was sort of up to 100 meters where I could really test things out at different distances. Unfortunately, I haven't got that. But you'd be able to see a lot bigger difference in your upgrades then, and to how they perform. At shorter distances, it's hard to sort of tell. But there was a little bit of a difference, and you could see there was distinct two groupings. So with that said, the upgrades are starting to pay dividend a little bit. Okay, so we've done all the tests, and now it's time to look at the results. So, trigger response, it's a draw. There's nothing in it, to be honest. It's 11.1, 7.4 with the precock. The 11.1 in here, it makes quite a big difference. And honestly, I'm sure there's milliseconds in it, but to feel and to fire it, there's no difference. It feels absolutely fine. Accuracy, that has to go to a 416. And I know it's only going to get better as the hotbed's in. So, and that literally is down to the maple leaf, macaron hop, a tight bore barrel. They're just little upgrades that are going to make a difference. Whether the Pro-Win hop-up chamber made a difference or not, it's probably doubtful, to be honest. I can't see why having a billet aluminium hop unit over a plastic one would make much difference, so long as they're fitting in the actual barrel properly, the outer barrel. As long as they're tight and they're not moving around, it shouldn't make any difference. I think the only difference you might get with the aluminium one is if you get a slightly better air seal, but that can go from gun to gun. Buying a Pro-Win hop-up doesn't mean you've found the magic cure for any hop-up units. They're good, they're consistent if they work in your gun. Some guns they don't work in. So you have to do a bit of experimenting with that one. My other M4, it hasn't even got a rotary hop-up, it's just got a standard old Garda aluminium hop-up, and it works brilliantly. So we're moving on to the FPS. So at the moment the 416 is playable. So if you go to a UK site, turn with that, it is just about inside the limits. It's perhaps a little too close to the limit. It could do with downgrading a little bit, but yeah, it's playable as it is. The E07, it isn't with that spring in, so that's not playable. However, the M90 spring that comes in the box as a replacement, it'd be better if it was an M100. I actually think that would be a bit too low. So if you're playing long range outdoor, if you're inside doing CQB, it's going to be absolutely fine. If you go outside playing long distances in woodland, it's perhaps a little bit low. I'd like a little bit more power, because if you drop that, it's probably going to be about 290. So, and let's face it, some of the pistols are 290. FPS isn't everything. A better hop unit makes a big difference. So please don't jump on me because I said you need a little bit more FPS. The hop unit makes the biggest difference, but the FPS is there to back it up with the heavier ammo. So, consistency. The 416 just takes it at 8 feet per second difference. The E07 is at 10 feet per second difference. So neither are exactly terrible. They're both pretty consistent. The 416 just takes it, but it's so minimal it's hardly worth thinking about. So rate of fire. So with the 7.4, the 416 is way down with 13.8 rounds per second. Stick the 11.1 in, it goes up to 20 rounds per second, so a big difference. With the E07, with the 11.1 in, that's 17 rounds per second. So it's only 3 rounds per second down on the 416. So again, it's not the worst. It's certainly not the worst. Why we've got a little bit extra, I think, will be down to shimming more than anything else. There's nothing special going inside this gearbox. I've kept it very standard as a build. I've certainly not put any fancy gears or anything like that. They're all standard gears. I honestly think that is simply down to better shimming and probably lubrication as well, making a better working gearbox. I don't think that the Titan is making any difference to it, because I've not got any raised fire control or anything on it. It is what it is with the battery. So then we come down to cost, and this is the real clincher with this. The Specna Arms 416. So we're looking at that, the things we've done to it. So we're looking at the internal. So we've got, and if you want to see more detail, please watch my previous video, the part 1 of the upgrading. So what we've got in there is gate Titan MOSFET. They're not cheap in any way. So that's going to cost a lot of money. There are cheaper options. So what you can do, if you've already got a gate Titan, it's a lot cheaper. You can get them for around £80 with the basic software, a little bit more with the more advanced software. But if you need the programming card, you need the data connection for your PC, things like that, it takes price up to about £150. So that's not a cheap upgrade if you don't already have the parts for it. I do, because I run 3 or 4 of them. So I've got all of the programming parts for it, and that doesn't cost me any extra. So let's look at the price for the 416. So if I look on what I looked at last time, so we're looking at a tight bore barrel, about £40, SHS high torque motor, although I haven't got one in there, I've got a high torque motor in there that I had. SHS
nozzle because the plastic one hasn't got an O-ring, so you want to upgrade to an O-ring. Got SHS aluminium cylinder head, SHS metal piston head with the bearing, and you've got an SHS lightweight piston with a full metal rack. So that, along with a gate tighten with a basic setup on there, which is only £80, is £197 on top of the price of the gun, which is about £220 to £250. Then obviously you've got a big increase compared to the E07, and this is where the E07 really wins, because a lot of those upgrades that you're putting into here, such as the piston head, the cylinder head, the nozzles, or nozzle, there's only one nozzle, they're already in there. The XASR is only about £18 to buy from Gate, so they're not terribly fancy upgrades. The XASR is great, all the rest of it, but you know, for the price, they're a bargain really. They're not expensive. You can fit one to any AEG. This gun's secret is its Orion gearbox and the type bore barrel as standard. These are what really make this good. And all you need to do is change a hop unit in here for a, not even the hop unit, change a hop rubber for something like a Macron with an Omega nub, and you're going to find yourself with a really capable gun for not a lot of money. So all in all, that's pretty impressive. So if you look at the scores, if we take the cost as just one score, the 416 just about takes it. But is it worth spending the money on the upgrades over something like the E07? And the simple answer is no. There is no point, because if you buy this, it's good out the box. You can put little upgrades on it, like hot rubbers, maybe even a hop unit if you really want to, if you feel the need to, and you've got yourself a really good gun. All you need to do is buy batteries and throw BBs through it. I would recommend the hot rubber so you can lift slightly heavier BBs, and you'd be looking at perhaps an M100 or 110 spring. So really, this is a fantastic gun. So yes, the upgraded gun will take it, just about, and it is just about. And the obvious thing is here, if you're wanting it at 416, then you've got no choice but to upgrade it, because these don't come with the Orion gearbox. Now, Specna Arms start knocking these out with the Orion gearbox and the MOSFET, then maybe that's a different thing altogether. And if they start putting the Asters in, which they are with some of their range, and they put them into the 416, then it's, you know, this competition's almost dead in the water, because it will essentially be the same gun as that, just without the Titan. So sometimes with upgrades, it's better to hang back and to not do too much. So sometimes less is better. And that's certainly the case with some of these guns, and it's certainly the case with the E07. You can spend a fortune on an airsoft gun with upgrades and top-notch parts, and it just be a pile of junk. I had it myself with an SRC MP5. I thought that I could overcome its shortcomings because it had a nice steel body and it felt great in your hands. I put loads of upgrades in it. I decided to tear the insides of it out and completely build it from the ground up. It was a pile of junk because the base gun was rubbish and I was trying to polish something that wouldn't work out, as it were. So just don't bother. Sometimes it's nice just to stick a few little key choice mods in there and to get the performance out of it. And sometimes when you throw money at it, you don't get the return. So you need to be really careful of that. And that's what I've done with the 416, but it still costs. So is it value for money? No, not really, because you can get good guns out there that work straight out the box from people like Specna Arms. Now, this is something that, you know, everyone will have different opinions on. Some people will like to go down the upgrade path like I do. I love upgrading the guns. I haven't got a single standard gun except for my gas pistols. I don't tend to mess with those so much. But I've spent a lot of money on different sniper rifles and AEGs and DMRs and everything else. I've had some really good results out of them. But at the same time, some of them will always be mediocre no matter what you do to them. SRC, I don't want to talk about them. Specna Arms are putting out some really good quality guns, and they're for really reasonable prices. That Orion gearbox, the XASR, is the icing on the cake. You know, it's hard to beat. So I'm not saying don't upgrade your guns. I'll always upgrade my guns, and I will upgrade this at some point because I can't help myself. But also look at what you've got. Sometimes, like I say, less is more. Now, what I will be doing next, in the next video, we'll be stripping down the Rock River Arms licensed E07, and we'll be having a look inside the internals to see what the inside is actually like, and see if we can't squeeze a little bit more performance out of it simply by re-shimming it, greasing it, making sure that the inside of the gearbox isn't dry and that there's no damage and everything's as it should be. So we'll be trying to get a little bit more performance just through basic maintenance. So stay tuned for that, because that video will be coming up real soon. And thanks for watching this. Any questions, please ask us in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and press the little bell for notifications. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you think, and see you again soon.